the dump.
Just because we're pretty, everybody's jealous. It's like a prison here. Even at Christmas, it's like a prison.
Don't even mention Christmas, Chicklet. My parents are going to be real sorry if I don't get them cha-cha heels. I asked and I better get.
We'll probably get caught for hooking this period, but who cares? Who cares if we fail? It'd be fun to be expelled.
I hope I get arrested. I hate this school and all these ignorant teachers who don't know one thing. I'm the one who should be teaching. I hate my parents, too.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
John, come see what Santa brought you.
Oh, Christ, I'm coming.
Please, Howard, try to get through this without a fight. I can't stand another one, not on Christmas.
I better get them cha-cha heels.
How very sweet of you, dear.
Merry Christmas, honey bunch.
What are these?
Those are your new shoes, Dawn.
Those aren't the right kind. I told you cha-cha heel, black ones.
Nice girls don't wear cha-cha heels.
Give me those presents. I'll neither wear those ugly shoes. I told you the kind I wanted. You ruined my present.
Please, Dawn, not on Christmas.
Get off me, you ugly witch.
You devil! Come here, you pay for this! You devil! Go on, Davenport, look at your mother under that
Leave me
tree.
alone.
You're such a devil!
Don't
You
touch
come back!
me.
Come
Lay
back!
off me. I hate you. Both you awful people. You're not my parents. I hate you. I hate the house. I hate Christmas.
Not on Christmas.
Happy days are here again. The skies above are clear again. Let us sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again.
Hi, and welcome to Ward 13. My guest host today is Matt Connarton. Da-da-da-da! And our special guest is Arnie Arnesen.
Thank you so much.
And my my very own state rep, Tim Smith of District 17, Manchester.
With the my own thing, I thought you were going for that, what Trump did the other day when he said, look at my African-American over there.
I have not been watching TV.
Why does it feel like
enough.
chattel?
Well, in
Oh my God.
fairness, it would not be the first time I've been a prop for a camera.
Yeah.
There we go. Good.
Well, you know, you are, we'll admit it, a beefcake. Well, is there ever going to be a calendar out of the House of Representatives
I hope not.
featuring you?
I certainly hope not.
I think John's a little sweet on you.
Well, you know, we walked the wards together.
Oh,
and
okay.
you are going to run again this year.
Yep,
You're
I
up for
filed my
re-election.
papers last week.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Now, here's the question on our mind. I know you guys weren't really watching the video.
No.
And where Divine doesn't get her cha-cha heels for Christmas and goes wild. And A Life of Crime. It's from John Waters' Female Trouble. This is what we people would like to ask. You both are Bernie Sanders supporters.
Well, I'm a liberal, progressive Democrat that has not endorsed anyone.
Oh, you have an endorsement.
But I'm in the media, so
Okay.
I'm brutal to everyone.
Good.
I
That
mean, that's
is-
going to cross this. But remember, I said I'm a liberal, progressive Democrat. I've known Hillary Clinton since 1991, and I've known Bernie since 1987.
Wow.
So I know them both personally.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's a very interesting race for me because these are two people who are on first name basis. Which is rare and unusual. And Bernie, because I used to do talk radio in White River Junction, Vermont, he had just gotten elected to Congress, so he was on my show all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember
Nice.
used to ask him, like, so are you caucusing in the bathroom? You know, like,
Right.
And so I've known him from the rumpled suits, you know, so it's been very interesting.
Oh, wow.
And one sidebar, just for you to know, too, as well. I know him so well, and he knows that I do presidential politics, and I live in a house in Concord, New Hampshire, that is well known for presidential politics. Jimmy Carter slept there, Bill Clinton spoke there, Al Gore spoke there. It was a mixed marriage. Bob Dole spoke there. It was really interesting. So I get a call January of 2015, and I pick up the phone, and it's Bernie. And I'm like, Bernie, what's going on? He goes, can I borrow the house? And I'm like, can you borrow the house? What are you talking about? He goes, I'm thinking of running for president. I was starting to laugh. I went, you're what? He said, I'm thinking of running for president. I said, wow. I said, sure, you can borrow the house. I said, I'm not endorsing you, but I'll move the furniture and put out water, which is exactly what I did. 150 people came out of nowhere. Remember, this is way before he announced it.
Sure.
Way. January of 2015.
Is that the one with the picture that made the New York Times? Was that your house?
It may have been.
No,
I don't
that
think
was
so.
that was Liz
Elizabeth.
Rops.
But that was when that's when he was official.
Oh,
He
right.
was beginning to move forward. This is long before that.
But I seem to remember that.
Yeah, Liz Ropp has a little house in Manchester.
Right.
This is a house in Concord.
I remember the Concord,
And so he comes, and all these people are here, and I'm just shocked at how many people have showed up.
Yeah.
I really am shocked. And he's talking just like he talks today. Nothing had changed. But I've known him for years, and nothing has changed in 30 years in the sense that he's always been a progressive and always believes that there's a role for government and that there needs to be a safety net, those kinds of things. So he's talking, and finally people are asking questions, and I raise my hand. And Bernie looks at me, and I'm sitting right next to him. He goes, it's your house. What's up? And I said, you haven't answered the $64,000 question. And he said, what's that, Arnie? And I said, which party? And you have to watch the room go like this. And he gets really quiet, all right? And he finally says, Democrat. And I told him, you had to pick a party, because if you didn't, you should leave the house. And then I said to him, it's hard for me to say it too sometimes. And you know that, for both of us. So, I mean, I've been a Democrat my entire life. So it's not like, they keep saying Bernie is
Right.
new to the party. Hey, I've been around forever. I
Yeah.
sound just like him. So it's not about the new to the party. It's about he had to make a decision, and he had to either
Right.
be a player, because it was not going to be beneficial for him to run as a third party candidate.
No, it
That's not what the country needed. It's
Yeah.
not what the party needed. And that's where he said it, was at my house.
I wonder how many young people who are very excited and enthusiastic about Bernie don't even realize. I bet a lot of them don't even realize that he technically has been serving in the House as an independent and
Well, and
hasn't
he's
been a
caucused
Democrat.
with the Democrats. He's voted for the leader of the Democrat. I mean,
Right.
he's done everything but he's never, he didn't want that I'm
Right.
not sure it's a responsibility. I think he loved the independence.
Sure.
Of being able to, and he's worked with Rand Paul, he's worked across the aisle in a way that he's much more liberated than if he had in fact been a Democrat.
But Artie, independents in the Senate are not unique. Harry Byrd of Virginia, who had been a Democrat, became an independent, I think sometime in the late 50s.
Yeah.
And he was always an independent.
There's Angus King.
Yeah,
Angus King.
Right.
Yep.
And then you align with a party.
Yeah.
So this isn't unprecedented that he was an independent.
I think Angus King caucuses with the Dems, right?
Yeah,
He
of
does.
course he does.
The thing you've got to remember about Senator Sanders' status as an independent in the Senate, Vermont has nonpartisan registration.
Right.
Exactly.
When you
Exactly.
register in Vermont, either to run for office or to register to vote, there's nowhere on the form to check off a party. There's just everyone in Vermont technically is an independent.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
No, they're a citizen.
Right. So Bernie
How
Sanders.
novel.
Bernie Sanders had exactly the same on-paper registration as Howard Dean, who served as chairman of the DNC.
Right.
So to claim that his Democratic credentials are incomplete, I found laughable since day one. And he's been active in Democratic Party politics for quite a while. He caucuses with the Democrats,
Right,
both
exactly.
in the House and the Senate.
He has since the beginning.
He's gone to the Democratic convention as a superdelegate in previous elections. He's given speeches at the Democratic convention.
Looks like
and
a
everything
Democrat,
else.
acts like a Democrat,
Right.
quacks like a Democrat.
Right.
The only
But
distinction,
he's not. He's
right?
new.
The only distinction is because he was elected, as a nonpartisan candidate out of Vermont. He's retained that independent label in the Senate frankly, so that Republicans like Rand Paul and John McCain can work with him without pissing off their base.
Exactly, which is actually to his advantage.
Right, it's been a huge political
advantage. To the Democrats' advantage is that Bernie has been able to be liberated from that burden of party affiliation, because it does give him a chance to sort of work across the aisle in a much more seamless way.
I remember Bernie he endorsed Jesse Jackson in '88 for president, and in '92 he endorsed Bill Clinton in the general election. So by '90, after he got elected the first time to Congress, and he started caucusing with the Democrats, he's he's for all intents.
That's
and
why if I
purposes
hear one more time that
Democrat.
he's only been a Democrat for a year, he's only been a Democrat, I'm like, what the heck does that mean? And frankly, he hasn't gone. He's even gone to the convention. So I'm trying to figure out.
Right, he's been to the convention.
It's a phony argument.
Right.
Because they're just annoyed that he has done something nobody predicted would happen.
That's what this is. Winston Churchill walked the aisle at least 2 times. Conservative, liberal, conservative. That's not unknown in Canada or UK, any parliamentary system. And nobody would really, except inside the party maybe, and mad or anything.
Tim, I don't know if you know
that
this,
wouldn't be considered a big deal.
I when I ran for governor, I ran against the party chairman and the 5-term congressman.
Oh, Graham Mason?
No, I ran against Ned Helms, and I ran against who is, oh God, I can forget his name. Please forgive me for this. What's our congressman? Anyway, he was 5-term congressman. It'll come to me in a second.
Bradley?
Norm DeMorris. Norm DeMorris.
Norm DeMorris.
So lovely man, okay? So, and I'm the backbencher from the North Country with 2 little babies, no name recognition. I don't think I'd ever been to a Democratic event in my life. I was from Orford, the home of Mel Thompson. And I came out of nowhere, and people used to pat me on the head, like nice little girl, okay? Especially being the first female. I beat them 2-1.
Wow.
And what I see with Bernie is that what I tapped into isn't a lot what Bernie tapped into, which was a sense of frustration that the Democratic Party had become more like sort of moderate Republicans and had really lost their sense of connection to what it was that they were supposed to represent, which was workers, the environment. I mean, I remember, and I think math, very good, math. Yeah. And so I think that's really what you're kind of seeing with Bernie Sanders, is that he has tapped into why people thought they were Democrats in the first place.
Why I became a Democrat in 1977.
Right.
And then before the Democratic Leadership Conference, which was Bill Clinton and other
the era of big government
more
is over.
Other conservative Democrats who needed to hang on for dear life in the South, and they started moving the party to the right and started for the first time really shaking the corporate money tree.
Well, that's what's been so insidious about money.
Was it Art Torres from California was a master at that when he just basically, a lot of people thought he sold the party out to big business.
So in '96 I ran for Congress. And I was described as one of the 6 that would change Congress if she won. Okay, and so they sent me, the Democratic Party sent me this 3-ring binder. Remember, this is '96, no internet. 3-ring binder with the places where I was supposed to go to ask for money. And I open up the 3-ring binder. The nuclear industry. What's this? Right. The pharmaceutical industry. What's this?
Right.
The coal industry. So I'm sitting there, and the guy from Washington is sitting at the table with me, and I'm tearing pages out and throwing them on the floor. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Did you give me the right book?" I said, "Do you know who I am?"
Are you lost?
Exactly. And so he looks at my campaign staff and he says, "She's going to be difficult." And I went, "Oh." I'm thinking, but what does that tell you? That was '96, and we were already so beginning to, 92 we saw it with Bill and how he won. But then by '96, it was just getting to the point where all I wanted to do was take a shower. Because I could not relate to that book.
Yeah.
Because it didn't relate to my values, and it didn't relate to what I knew I needed to do. And money was going to be a burden for me, because there's no way that there isn't a quid pro quo. Right. Sorry, gang, there is. And there is an expectation.
And both parties are part of the same machine. I tell people all the time, all these lobbyists and special interests, they donate to both sides because they got to hedge their bets.
Right.
They got to make sure no matter who wins, D or R, that they're
but
in
it wasn't
control.
So they
it's
didn't
all the
really
same thing.
Do it as much until in the late '80s, like Mike Dukakis, was a genuine liberal. It was after that there was this feeling, we need to retake the White House at any cost, not at any cost, but we needed the money to retake the White
Bill
House.
Clinton was a third-string Democrat. Everyone, nobody thought he was going anywhere. Let's be honest; they could not imagine Bush losing.
Right.
Let's be honest here. So,
Oh, yeah.
so
After
when
the war,
when
yeah.
Clinton came in with the DLC, there was no real expectation of that happening. They thought he would lose. He was kind of going to be the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, and then run in 96.
Right, exactly. But what happened was he
Veep in
did
92.
win. He did win. And let me remind everyone, he ran on a middle-class tax cut. He pandered like crazy. I mean, he sounded like a Republican. And, of course, he got there, and he didn't do that. Well, you know why? Because the economy was tanking, and we needed to address the deficit. We needed to pay our bills. And what does he do? He throws all the Democrats under the bus because they vote with him, and then they all lose 2 years later because he had done the bait and switch. But guess what? He didn't have to run in 2 years.
Right.
He got a 4-year window. And that was the difference. And he also had, lucky him, Ross Perot twice. He never got 50% of the vote. Never.
But getting back to Bernie, I think, and we'll get to you, Tim, he refocusing the party to the roots, like the party I came out of, which Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society. My great hero as a child was Bobby Kennedy, you know?
Well, that's I think, something that gives Senator Sanders an enormous amount of leverage with the party that isn't getting talked about a lot in the media and the press. We were just talking about, like, campaign funding. I mean, people in Congress and running for office, they don't want to have to, go through a call list every day. And Senator Sanders has his own list of several million fired up activists who give money without needing to be begged.
What's the average?
Without
$27.
Need to be massaged. It's not even being begged. It's you're calling Howard the children. Oh.
These are regular people. These are regular people who are not going to be looking for quid pro quo. On some lobbyist
the quid pro quo is I would like health care, please.
Right.
And so I don't want Anthem. I want health care.
Right. And an army of donors that don't need to be begged is something that any political party in their right mind would want to have. Yeah. And I think Senator Sanders,
and he gives them independence.
Right, and
and
Senator
the ability
Sanders
to take a strong stand.
has an absolutely enormous amount of leverage with the party in terms of do you want access to this donor list or not?
Right.
So let's talk about the procedure at the convention. Let's talk about the party platform.
He's proven
let's
it can
talk
be
about
done.
The Rules Committee. Right.
Yeah. And it's been done because of ideas.
Right.
It's been done because of ideas. I just had this sort of interesting fight on Facebook, and with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the fact why Hillary was going to win, and I said, let's remember last year, the media decided that Donald Trump should get $1.9 billion worth of free media. Can I repeat that? $1.9 billion of free media.
It is crazy.
You know who came in second? Hillary at $750 million.
Yep.
So between the media actually chose what's going to happen probably tonight, which is Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
Are you referring
and that's
to
unfortunate.
AP earlier? Like, was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
They declared
Hillary the winner.
Restart and all clean. I'm so angry.
I remember that happened in 1980 with Reagan when the press started moving away from Jimmy Carter.
Really?
Because I was studying political science at Boston University with Howard Zinn,
the
great Howard Zinn. Yeah. And you could, at 20 years old, it's shocking to see it start. The bias. We'll go with Reagan. And then you see the media just start to...
I think the only way to describe what happened last night with the AP is
tell what happened to
the Associated Press declared Hillary Clinton the nominee before anyone voted today or anything.
In the largest state in the nation, with probably that's so excited about finally mattering and wanting to participate. Boy, talk about dumping on their parade.
Right after Puerto Rico voted, they made Puerto Rico, or at least the AP, tried to make Puerto Rico the tipping point and just declare the race is over and all that. The only way to describe it really is just monumentally irresponsible.
Well, actually, it's worse than that, though, because what they did was they contacted all the superdelegates, and they've been keeping track of what the superdelegates have said. But this is a secret conversation. This is not the superdelegate says, oh, yeah, I'm with Hillary, and then they announce it to the world. This isn't a conversation on a phone call where they're just constantly calling the superdelegate. Have you decided yet? Have you decided yet? So they're not even being public. So what I posted on my Facebook page is that, isn't it interesting? The AP chose the nominee, not the voters.
Right.
And their timing was their choice. Right. I mean, they could have made the call tonight.
Right.
They could have made the call tomorrow night. They made a decision to make these clandestine phone calls in this secretive manner with people who aren't being forthcoming and open about what they said to the AP, and the AP suddenly says, oh, we got the number. But you don't know who said yes.
Right.
You don't know who the superdelegates were they called. I mean, this is democracy.
Well, that's Bernie's whole counter-argument, right? It's like, wait a minute, you don't have the math to declare her the
what's
nominee
worse than
because
that,
you can't prove the math. You can't
prove it.
You can't show your work.
Show me, exactly.
Right.
Show
And
me
a
your work.
superdelegate is supposed to be
Right, and
Right,
you know,
right.
something that's very important just
Show me
to
your
make
math.
absolutely clear. You know, the problem isn't that anyone, or at least too many people, really believe that the results are going to be different at the convention.
We all know.
If the media announces or doesn't announce superdelegates in their count. The problem is the process. You know, I mean, I'm one of those people who would rather lose clean than win dirty.
Yes.
And you know, they're winning
There's
dirty.
honor in that.
Right.
There's honor.
And they're making a conscious choice to win dirty when they could have won clean, and then they're rubbing your nose in it.
Well, you're saying the AP is in with the Clintons?
I don't know if the AP is in with the Clintons, but it's just
It's not-
there's an arrogance about
Right.
the media.
That is
It's
the
not-
media.
and it's their arrogance that makes me crazy.
I'm of the
They
opinion
need to
that
call.
you know it's not
Call
a
it.
secret plot. It's not some people in a
Right,
smoke-filled
it's
room
not.
on cigars. It's incompetence. It's pure journalistic incompetence.
Tim, it is a way to get money, too. Let's be frank. They put Donald Trump in the middle of those debates with the two idiots next to him because it drove ratings. And so the APs now, they must have got a spike in traffic.
True.
And they get money off of
So
that.
let me
They gotta
I'll give
beat
you a
somebody.
number. I'll give you a number. I taught a class for what is it called, the Ollie.
You were
It's
at the Harvard Kennedy
Yeah, I
School.
used to be there, but I just recently I taught a group of adults about sort of politics, and I said I'm going to give you two numbers. I said one number is $5,000, the other number is $200,000, and they went, "What's that?" I said, the CNN was watching the first Republican debate. And they suddenly saw the numbers go through the roof for that debate because of Donald Trump, because he's a ratings machine. Okay?
Right.
And they're like, whoa, and we're second, okay? They originally thought nobody would be watching, and they had decided that they were going to charge $5,000 for an ad, $5,000 or $10,000 for an ad during the Republican debate. After Fox's ratings came in, they jumped it to $200,000.
Wow.
Do they love Donald Trump?
Of course.
Do they want all Donald all the time?
Of course.
Absolutely.
It's a business.
Can you imagine to 200,000?
It blows your mind.
It blows your mind how much money they made as a result of Donald
And
Trump.
Donald wanted a share of it, too, didn't
Oh,
he?
yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say we're airing tonight, and the California-New Jersey primaries are on. Over the when the replay comes,
Yeah.
I guess it will be different. That Hillary Clinton is the presumptive nominee.
Apparently.
If you accept the fact that the superdelegates aren't independent, you know,
Right.
They're a wild card. But
Well,
yeah.
it's not. You know, the thing to remember. I think that the people who are serving as the automatic unpledged delegates, the super delegates, they're not stupid. And if they were to come out and support a candidate who had not won the popular vote, who had not won the pledged delegate count, all hell would break loose.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
if the shoe was on the other foot, it would break loose.
right? And
Absolutely
exactly.
right.
You know, and so if
Again, it's the fairness thing.
right,
You know,
so
I do the
if
math
Clinton,
too.
if Clinton comes out and you know she comes out with the pledged delegate count and the popular vote, the unpledged delegates are going to support her.
So could she win tonight in pledged delegates,
No.
not super
No,
delegates?
neither candidate mathematically neither candidate can cross the line with pledged delegates alone. Obviously, it's not going to be an exact 50-50 split going into the convention. So one is going to have a little more, but it won't be enough of a spread to get the nomination without any super delegates.
So let's say Hillary doesn't rack up 55% in California. Let's say it's one of these contests that we've seen increasingly, 51-49. That would give Bernie more power at the convention, would it
It will
not?
certainly give him more credibility and leverage. And you know, of course, there's the elephant in the room that nobody in polite company wants to talk about, and that is Hillary Clinton might still lose the FBI primary. There is there is a non-0% chance. It may be low,
The FBI is
but there is a
investigating.
non-0% chance that there will be a federal indictment in between.
The Attorney General, the Attorney General
in between
is Obama.
tonight and the convention, or my personal nightmare, in between the convention and November.
No, Obama is the president. The Attorney General.
I don't
answers
know
to
if
him.
that will happen, but
That
it doesn't
won't
even matter because that's exactly what Donald Trump will be talking about 24/7. 24/7. This will not be a policy discussion in any way, shape, or form. And if he pivots, if he's capable of pivoting, it will be, and it'll be
Well,
about.
his hair will go to the other side.
That's right. That's right. It will be
Actually,
about,
the
and
video
you know,
on
I know what's so scary
Really?
about the email problem, and what is in a way so scary, even about the fact that she won't disclose what's in her speeches, is that it's not sophisticated. And people understand it.
Right.
You see, they don't understand Benghazi, let's be honest.
Right.
They don't understand really what's going on in the Middle East. They may not understand some heavy-duty policy stuff, but they do understand the emails, and they do understand what did you say for $300,000.
Yeah.
You know, and how come you can't disclose it? And he is so good at going to someone's vulnerability and basically blowing it out of proportion, and everybody will be more intimate with the email scandal than with the fact that her name is Hillary Clinton.
But
Because
Arnie-
that's what he's good at.
Arnie,
This is
you're
really
talking
good.
You know,
about a
it- well-
candidate that's the most racist candidate since George
He's
Wallace in
self-destructing.
68.
I think he's
Yes,
trying
but
to
the
The
lose.
thing with the Mexican-American judge.
She mentions a very important point, and you know, I always say for the record, I personally think that the email thing is nothing,
Right.
but it's the perception that
It's the
matters.
perception.
Of corruption.
And Trump
It's the
is an
perception.
Personal
absolute
corruption.
master at
Exactly.
messaging. I mean, the guy sucks at real estate. He sucked at investing. He sucked at apparently cooking steak, and you know,
At being a college,
he
running
hasn't
a
been
college.
very good at very many things other than marketing. The guy's a
Marketing.
marketing genius.
I've got a-
and you know, he can.
I disagree.
He will absolutely be able to take anything
Well, no,
that
I
has a
disagree,
public
too.
perception as a problem, and he'll drill on it. I will be honestly surprised at the debates if it's Clinton versus Trump having a presidential debate. I will be surprised if he takes a single stand on a single real political issue.
Well, I agree with
He
you
will-
there.
He will
Yeah.
answer every question with, "What are you asking me about foreign policy for? She can't even do her
But he would
emails."
do-
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
He
all.
would-
It'll
That's
always be
all
a
he'll
bait and
say.
switch.
No, that-
It'll be
I
a bait
agree
He
and
would
switch.
hit Bernie with being a communist, which he said. So that's who he is.
But I think Trump is and Arnie,
Bernie's
you,
not a communist.
Yeah.
Arnie, you mentioned Trump pivoting, or if he's
Right.
capable of it, and he's clearly not. He's still offending Republicans. He's already the presumptive nominee, and he's still offending Republicans at every turn.
Let
Well,
him continue.
well,
That's really
I
fine.
think that's the plan. I think he's a plant.
Can I just?
I mean, it's-
Can we
really
get
do.
Trumpy Cat number 9, picture number 9, up on the?
Uh-oh.
This is our mascot.
Yes.
Isn't that a pretty
Oh,
cat?
very pretty.
This is when we get. Whenever we talk about Trump, we get into such absurdity. We
Well,
throw
but-
Trumpy
but
Cat up.
I just.
It's
First of
gonna
all,
be
I
one for
think
the
I think
ages.
I think he has to be. I think he's getting a little terrified, and I think
Yeah.
that's another reason why he's drilling down, because he has to go to his comfort zone, and his comfort zone is to attack everyone and to personalize everything. I mean, he's actually not running for president; he's running for first selfie. I mean, it's all
Right.
it's all about
That's
him.
good.
It's all about him, and that is what is so interesting here. But at the same time, I think even if he were to win, he would outsource the job. He doesn't-
Probably.
No, that's how he operates.
Probably,
He's
yeah.
never
We can only
done
hope.
anything. He's always found someone else to do everything for him. You know, and so he wants the attention. It's like the buildings. All
Right.
the Trump buildings, for the most part, he doesn't own.
Right.
He
Right.
rents his name.
Licensing, that's what it
It
is.
is. It's
Yeah.
licensing. So again, it's never
Donald
been
Trump's
about the
United
content.
States.
Yeah.
It's always been about the flash.
It's fluff.
Will he
It's fun.
rename the United States?
Well, who knows?
The Taj states, the Donald Trump states?
But here's the thing I said on my radio show on Monday that got everybody quiet. So we were talking about, you know, what happened with the judge, and we were talking about Trump and about all the Republicans who can't say the word racist and all this other
Right.
stuff. And I said, you know, here's what's really scary to me. You think that the decision will happen in November and it will end and we'll move on. The problem is, if Donald Trump loses, he doesn't leave.
Yeah.
He doesn't leave the stage. And he will be unlike any Republican candidate for president in history. He'll be unlike Al Gore, who basically agreed with the Supreme Court.
Right.
He will not go quietly.
Right.
And so everyone thinks that November is where we're going to get some closure. They have no freaking clue.
Right.
Because this is not how he operates. And what the Republican Party has to start figuring out what to do is what happens after the election. Because you will be on continuous damage control, because he will not leave the stage.
Right.
And that is the story nobody is talking about. They're just looking for, oh my God, just get him out of here. But it ain't going to happen.
Well,
And
you
that's
know,
what's so scary.
I can't even
I have
imagine
discussions
it's gonna
about this
Yeah.
with fellow state reps up in Concord, including Republicans,
Of course.
and there are a good number of them, you know, who've confided to me that they're terrified of
Yeah.
what Trump is doing and is going to continue doing
Right.
long after this election cycle to their party, because you know, for better or for worse, I don't want to name names, but one of them mentioned to me that, Trump has come out and said what the undesirable segment of the Republican base has been thinking. The people that Republicans wish were not on their side have now been given a mainstream candidate who comes out with, the subtle racism,
right?
Unsubtle racism,
the non-subtle racism.
David Duke, who's that? I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
the KKK. What are you talking about?
The nationalist jingoism.
Yeah.
Dumbing everything down to the worst possible common denominator.
He's a patriot,
and so he's
he went to military school.
He's drummed up he's validating stereotypes that people outside the Republican Party have of the Republican base.
Good insight.
And non-crazy Republicans are terrified of that, and rightly so.
Yeah.
Because not all Republicans are crazy.
So let me just say something. It's really interesting because when the Republican Party, after the last election, they did this big, huge paper, and they sort of did this like soul searching. What do we need to do? We need to reach out to Hispanics. We need to reach out to blacks. We need to reach out to women.
And of course they did none of it.
But here's the thing that they actually didn't realize. They needed to reach out to white men. And what do I mean? The reason why Donald Trump was so successful is that the people who have been actually hurt the most in the last 30 years have been white men because they had something and lost it. You see, blacks and Hispanics never were on the bench. They never had the good jobs. They never had the good schools. Their kids didn't get the same kind of opportunities. White middle-class men did. Their wives didn't have to work. They could live in the suburbs. They could pass the job on to their kid. They had so much. And now it's gone. And when you have it and lose it, you are really... And it's really interesting because if you poll blacks and Hispanics in America, they don't see the country moving downward the way white people do.
Right.
Whites see the country going and for them it is. And for blacks and Hispanics, for the first time, there are some doors of opportunity that are opening that had never happened before, even though it may still be a crumb, but it's a crumb. But these are people who were here, who've now, with each passing year, have gone like this.
Or they perceive it that way.
I think
it's true.
You think it really is true?
She's right, because
I believe it.
Anytime you have
the anxiety.
Anytime you have a situation of inequality, whether it's inequality in how many cookies are on your plate, or inequality of opportunity, or inequality of like retirement savings, anytime you have a situation of inequality and you move closer towards a situation of equality, someone's going to lose something. And in the last couple of decades, the socioeconomic group who's been losing something have been white middle-class
because
men.
of rich people. But it's not because of blacks and Hispanics. Here's the problem. Blacks and Hispanics are finally beginning to slowly, I mean, it's so slow, it's pathetic, beginning to finally move into the American dream.
Right.
And the problem is the rich have sucked out all the investment in infrastructure, in job creation, in everything. And the people who had those jobs that did the infrastructure were white working men.
Right.
So who got the shaft? All their income, all their security, all their opportunity went to the very, very wealthy. So it didn't go to the people at the bottom. It went to the very, very wealthy.
I saw that.
And that is the problem. And what you see is with each, I look at my parents. My parents were school teachers. They could buy a house. They could send 2 kids to college at the same time.
Yeah.
They could afford to go on summer vacation. They could actually send us to camp. There was no way that was happening when I had kids. There was no way. I had so much student debt, it was making my head spin. My kids, there was the amount of lack of opportunity from my generation. Now move it to someone who's 40. I'm 62. So now make it 20 years younger than me.
Right.
And now the sense of frustration. And you now see it not only with demographics, but what we're seeing now is white men are dying for the first time now at a faster rate than they ever had before. And
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
And part of it is drugs and suicide and guns.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons, but that it is afflicting that population.
Huh.
When you study it, you kind of go, what?
Yeah.
Because
I'm
that
surprised.
is terrifying.
Yeah.
That is terrifying.
Matt, I'll just tell you something.
Now, to be very clear,
could I get to this point and then we'll get to you? They used to, if you're going to invest, at least up to 2 years ago, used to use it used to be GNP, and then there's GDP, which uses hedonics, which is a statistical, I call it shell game, in order to report inflation so you can balance the budget, which started in the Clinton years.
Yeah.
If I remember investors, they would use old GNP, the matrix, the calculations, to accurately gauge the economy, because we underreport unemployment
Oh my God,
vastly.
crazy.
There's
Right.
a vast army of
dropouts. Never
unemployed
get
people.
Oh, yeah.
So what Arnie's talking about, absolutely. I saw it in Michigan with the car industry.
Yeah.
But Tim?
Well, 2 points to that. The first, it's very important to make sure we're clear that
The economy isn't as strong as
the increasing morbidity among white men and the socioeconomic disadvantages that have been shifting into that community over the last couple of decades in no way justifies any of the racism and bigotry
None, of course,
that
my
we're
point.
seeing out of like the Trump base,
But that's because Trump wants to divert attention
right,
away
right.
from the fact that the money's
Racism.
going here,
Right, and
not
that's-
that it's going here.
He's
Racism
being,
is
he's
a
being very
homeostatic
effective
device.
at misdirecting their confusion and their latent
Right.
anger about the
Demagogues.
situation and misdirecting it onto these groups
But
that
Trump
are not doing
is
anything to
doing
them.
what the Republican Party has been doing for 30 years.
Right.
That Trump is a phenomena that the Republican Party created, and I will prove it.
Yeah, oh, that's
96, I'm running for Congress. I go into a town called Lisbon, New Hampshire. Very poor town. Very poor town. I walk in, and the room is filled with a lot of men, and they're really angry at me. And they go, I'd never been in the room before. And the guys go, we don't like you, Arnie Arnesen. And I'm looking at them going, have we met? Okay? And I said, so let's talk. Why don't you like me? And they said, you like those welfare women. Because remember the welfare reform and the criminal reform?
Oh, yeah.
I said, yeah. And you need to know something about those welfare women. We work 60 hours a week and nobody gives us health care. But those welfare women, they get Medicaid. We work 60 hours a week, and we have to pay for our kids and for daycare, and those people get Head Start. And they went through all the things that those welfare people got, and they were working 60 and 70 hours a week, and they couldn't go to the doctor. Their kids couldn't go to school. They were just so angry.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm listening to them, God, and I said to them, you know what? I'd be pissed too. And they went, whoa. And I said, but I'm confused. How does taking it away from those welfare women get it for you? And I said, that's the point. The problem is, it's not that there's something wrong with welfare.
Right.
There's something wrong with work. Because when you can work 60 hours and you can't afford to go to a doctor, what's wrong with work? When you
Right.
can work 60 hours and you can't find a place to live, what's wrong with work? Isn't it brilliant? They made you hate them and not ask the most important question
Exactly.
is, how the hell can I be working so hard and get nowhere?
Right.
And that's what the Republican Party has been doing for 30 years.
Very
Donald
well.
Trump, brilliantly. And Donald Trump has focused in on that, and he is really their creation because he is the bastardization of everything that they've ever believed. And it also explains Bernie. Because Bernie, in an interesting way, appeals to a very similar group of
Yes, he
people
does.
there,
Yeah.
but he gives them solutions that actually do the math and make sense, and actually they can see a change that will impact their lives. All Donald Trump says is, trust me.
And we're going to win big and things like that.
It's going to be great.
It's gonna be
big bold
huge.
letters, glitzy,
You know, when you talk about the,
italic font, the whole deal. The whole deal.
when you talk
None of that
about
cheap underline font here.
That's right. Italic bold.
you talk about the Republican Party mastering this, but the Democratic Party in the Deep South was masters of this. There was a guy,
True. The Dixiecrats.
a politician at the turn of the last century, Tom Watson. I think he was either Georgia or Alabama. He would run on a populist ticket, get the blacks and whites together, and as soon as they get in the state house, they sell out the blacks, and then start scapegoating the blacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, racism is a homeostatic device. A homeostatic device is, you can think, you know, like a rate. You know, when you do it's a device like witch burning. It releases pressure from a community.
Right.
You have to go and
Well, hatred is an interesting.
they used it. They mastered it in the Deep South.
Oh, yeah.
They mastered it in the Deep South. You know, they would just, the black is is all your problems because the white guy is not getting anything from this populist who's suddenly in the state capitol and selling out.
But aren't you?
So-
I guess the good news is you hear Bernie and you
the
actually hear
Republican
Trump
Party
are
is
talking-
the Dixiecrat Party.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's more than that because what they've also done is they've sold out to Wall Street.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to play the race card. It's one thing to play the immigrant card. But they've played that card, and then they've genuflected to Wall Street.
Well,
and
they always were
well,
Wall
but
Street.
Way more
way
than-
more,
way
way
more.
more, way more. I got elected in 1984. And do you know who asked me to run for the New Hampshire House? I was in the Constitutional Convention. Okay.
Give us a clue. I might get it.
It's amazing. I'm in the Constitutional Convention. I'm 7 months pregnant. All right. And I'm serving on the executive committee. And the executive committee, we run as citizens, like in Vermont. We didn't run as partisans for the Constitutional Convention. Lane Dwinell, the former Republican governor, was my chairman. At the time, David Nixon was a Republican, and he was the vice chairman. And the majority leader was on the committee. It was like the who's who of the Republican Party was on this committee. So it was like 26 men and 2 women. I'm one of the girls, all right? So I have the most amazing, wonderful experience of my life.
Caller, we'll get to you in a minute.
And I loved it. At the end of the 6 weeks, I'm walking out the door, and the Republican majority leader, remember this, Bruce Rounds, walks me out and says, Arnie, what are you doing in the fall? And I looked at my stomach, and I said, I'm having a baby, Bruce. He goes, no, I could tell that, Arnie. I said, what are you asking? He said, ever thought about serving in the New Hampshire legislature? Now I got really quiet. And I said, Bruce, I don't know how to break this to you, but I think I'm a Democrat. And then I wrote, in fact, I think I'm a liberal Democrat. But listen to what he said. He said, we could tell that too, Arnie. And he said, but I want you to know something. 75% of what we do in the New Hampshire House is what's good for New Hampshire. And 25% of it is partisan. I think you need to be there for the 75%.
Interesting.
That was the Republican majority leader. That can't happen today. What a shame. Yeah. What a shame.
Is that caller still there, John?
I'm sorry, caller.
Yes.
Yep. Well. Still here.
Hello. Welcome to Ward 13. You have a question?
Yes, John. Hey, I love your show. Watch your show all the time, and I still have a bumper sticker that says Arnie's Army on it.
Wow.
I love you. Get rid of that car.
I think I'm a big Elizabeth Warren fan.
Oh,
and I think
Liz.
you could certainly you could stir the pot quite a bit, and I support you and love you. Love the both of you. Love your show, John.
Oh, thank you so much. Call back next week. Take care.
The affirmation is nice.
Well, it is, since we never get any calls.
I know. Well, we'll get more of them now that we're on at night.
True. If we can go back just a split second, you were talking about like underemployment being a problem in New Hampshire. This is something that really hits home for me, because it's way more of a problem than people realize, because it's an unreported statistic, and the reported statistics out of New Hampshire look very favorable on paper.
Oh yeah.
We have we have an incredibly low unemployment rate.
Second lowest in the country, I think.
Right. And some of our other demographics, I won't get into the whole policy wonk thing, but some of our other demographics look incredibly favorable in terms of our business climate and our employment scene. But the deck is artificially stacked in our favor, in some cases by statute, in some cases by like age and gender demographics, and a lot of other factors that are completely, not taken into account with a lot of these statistics. For example, the official unemployment rate only counts people who are currently collecting benefits from their state
Which
unemployment.
Means you're actively looking.
Right. From their state unemployment insurance system.
Yeah.
New Hampshire's state unemployment insurance system is one of the worst in the country. It's incredibly hard to be eligible for it. You're only eligible for it for an incredibly short period of time.
You get a very tiny check.
You get a very
tiny check.
And it's very easy to get kicked off of it. Mm-hmm. So the number of people who are collecting it at any given point in time is an artificially depressed number relative to the number of people in the state who are either looking for work and unable to find one, but are not eligible for unemployment for some reason.
Right.
Who have been out of work for too long that they've given up and they're living with relatives or some other situation. Or, brace for impact, they've just left the state because our climate is not conductive to finding new work if you've been unemployed for more than a year.
That's why a lot of young people leave. They graduate and then they can't find a job.
And now shelter costs are going through the roof.
Right.
So if you're trying to do the cost benefit analysis and you realize that you're going to look at your paycheck and you're going to see like 75% of it going for shelter.
Yeah.
And we don't have public transportation. So think about all those.
That's
things.
Socialism.
Watch your language, John.
Snowplow. I'm against snowplowing. That's a socialist plot.
But it's all these things. And
Here we go.
Can I just say what's so foolish about the public transportation thing? When I was a kid, the most important thing about arriving as an adult was getting your driver's license.
That's true.
Can I tell you something? I have 2 kids that don't have cars. I
They
have
live
2
in
kids.
Boston?
Well, one lives in New York, the other one lives in Shanghai. But I mean, but more important, they didn't care.
Yeah.
They didn't want a car. They didn't want that wasn't arriving for them.
Right.
That was actually a burden. It was bad for the environment. That meant they had to pay insurance, they had to find a place to park, they had to pay $26,000 for a car. But what they do want is either a walkable city or they want public transportation.
Right.
And we keep talking about how do we bring young people to New Hampshire.
Train.
We're doing the exact opposite
Right.
of doing that. We're putting out the get lost mat, not the welcome mat, because there is so little reason for people who really have a different mindset, which is really what the youth have, because we don't accommodate that. We still think it's like 1950. Well, it ain't.
Right.
And that I think is also unfortunate.
It's a good insight. I've never thought of it from that perspective as
Well,
far as
it's a
transportation.
massive problem.
It's a
You know,
massive problem.
if you look at the things that would theoretically, or in a very practical sense, things that would attract someone under 40 to live somewhere, we are doing exactly the opposite in 9 out of 10 cases. You know, the only thing we haven't screwed up yet is that we haven't closed all the state parks. And trust me, there are Republicans in Concord.
They're on their way.
There are Republicans in Concord who'd really love to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I actually
privatize them.
I actually believe company maybe Din might move because Hitchcock just can't get the workers he needs and other people.
Well, you know,
It's a
And it's a tragedy because this state could be an economic powerhouse.
And should be, and really
Right.
should be.
And was at one time. I mean,
But remember, but it was the company town. That's when it was at one time, because when it was
Oh,
the
yeah,
company
the
town,
Amesquite Corp
right,
owned
but
everything.
they took care of you.
Yeah.
It was almost like they were like in local parentis, but they understood that they had to somehow make sure you had transportation, that you had a
Right.
place to live, and
They
now
had
we are walking
streetcars.
away. You're on your own, Jack.
Yeah.
And when
Right.
you're on your own, Jack, it doesn't. You know, I had a dream many years ago,
Reaganomics.
in the early 2000s. The Manchester airport had just gotten so much bigger. You know,
Yeah.
it was like I was so impressed, and I said, you know, if you really want to make Manchester not just a great location outside of Logan, but you really want to make it a destination, why don't you get a monorail right from listen,
That'd be great.
it'd be great from the airport right into downtown Manchester. I said then people would never have to rent a car. They could have everything they need. They had the great hotels, they had the Verizon Center,
Yeah.
they have fabulous places. I said, and you could suddenly become a convention city. You could become all these things, and you wouldn't even have to worry about laying the rail because a monorail could go right down the center runway of the highway. I said, think differently. I said, you're building this beautiful airport. You're trying to grow this great community with the arts and culture and everything else. And if you made that gentle connection, guess what? You could change the course of history. And all it would require is one damn monorail. But we can't think that way.
We
We
can't
can't
even
even get
bring.
the money to pave the highways.
I know.
You know, John
Well,
and I,
well,
we talked
yeah.
about it on a previous show. You know, we had the bill 3 years ago that increased the gasoline tax by 4 cents. And by the way, all the Republicans who told people the costs were going to go up by like $1.50, I'd like you to remember that the cost of gasoline has gone down $2 since we passed that tax increase. But you know, the Republicans this term, they tried to repeal that. I mean, if they had been successful in their efforts to fight that increase in funding for the highways, you know, all those road crews like working on finishing Exit 4 in my own district, and you know, the other representative in my district voted against that money. All the work that's getting done on 93 southbound. Like the road crews would have just gone home at the end of the month.
But we have
and there was no alternative plan in place to fund that infrastructure. So you know, we have a not small faction of our state government that would be more than happy to just give up on trying to fund road and bridge repair.
Well,
Never mind
Tim,
new construction projects.
Tim,
They
you're
just-
welcome to
they
come-
fundamentally don't believe in taking care of our infrastructure.
You're welcome to come back and anytime and talk about that. But we have Bernie and Hillary up here, and we only have 10 minutes to go.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I know Tim's very passionate about this stuff. He's an excellent state rep.
Who's Hillary going to pick for her VP?
They say Tim Kaine they're floating about to appeal to,
I
counter the
Well,
backlash of white males.
I
that might
disagree.
be.
I think
I don't
that
think it'll be Tim. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I was
it's
thinking
actually
the-
that's too predictable.
Julian
in a year
Castro.
when predictability is not.
Yeah.
She needs something outside the box. She really does.
I disagree. I think that the instinct of the folks in that particular camp is going to be the same as it's
Conservative.
been. Is going to be the same as it's been for quite a while now. They're going to run to the right. They're going to look for a modern Zell Miller that they can pick as a VP candidate.
Oh my God.
You know,
Zell Miller?
Because this
Who's Zell Miller?
What about the
Seriously.
congressman from Hawaii?
Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they'll do it. She's too liberal.
You can't have two women on the ticket.
The problem is
Why
in this
not?
election
We've had
cycle.
two men forever.
I think that
I'm on this one.
I think it'd be harder for a
Seriously,
woman
though.
to get elected than an African American because of the racism and sexism of our culture.
No,
I can't believe that we haven't had a woman vice president or had a woman president by this time.
It is surprising.
I was in England in 1982 during the Falklands War, listening to the Iron Maiden herself have a go, Margaret Thatcher.
Well, John,
excoriate Parliament. It was something.
You've got to remember how this is going to play out over the next 6 months to a year. If Hillary Clinton's the nominee, there are two possible outcomes.
Throw Hillary and Bernie back up on the screen.
Either
please.
she wins in November or she loses in November. A tie is not realistic. If she wins in November, all the third way DLC people are going to take that as a vindication that you run to the right when you want to win elections as a Democrat. And for the next 50 years, all we're going to hear from these people is, well, no, you have to run to the right. Don't ever think about moving to the left because Bernie lost. I've got people I serve with in Concord who are still living in the 1984 election.
I disagree with you. I disagree. She is so morphed in front of our eyes. It's unbelievable.
Well, no, it's
she's going to begin to sound like a Democratic socialist.
Bernie moved her to the left. She took the pledge not to cut Social Security.
The problem is that people see through that. I mean, they really do.
Not all of us.
If Hillary Clinton loses, we're going to hear exactly the opposite from those exact same people. We're going to hear that Bernie pulled her too far to the left, and the reason she lost is because she didn't swing
I'm
to
already
the right.
hearing stuff
So
like that,
there's no possible outcome from this election cycle through which the party establishment is even going to be able to process the thought that moving to the left can help anyone do anything.
Matt, say what you said about you don't think the parties are going to survive this cycle.
Well, I would love to see. I hate the two-party system. I'd love to see it all go away, but.
Well,
it's trying to burn the house down.
I'd like to see
yes,
parliamentary
I want to burn
system.
the house down and start over.
Then we can have the beer lovers party.
That's right. I would argue, though, Hillary, to me, I mean, she's on foreign policy. She certainly hasn't gone left. She sounds like a neoconservative. I've always said I think she would have been very comfortable in the on the foreign policy team of the W administration.
Oh yeah.
She's very war hawkish.
She loves Kissinger.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, that should make you start to shake.
She herself described her own foreign policy as being more muscular than the other candidates.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes. Are you, Arnie Arnesen, if Hillary is the nominee, are you going to vote for her?
There's no way I can vote for Donald Trump.
Tim Smith, do you want to answer that question?
As a member of the state committee for the New Hampshire Democratic Party, I will stand behind our party's nominee.
Yep.
Now, going back to our original video introduction, which you guys didn't watch because you were chatting, will the Bernie people not getting their cha-cha heels on Christmas throw Hillary into the Christmas tree? What are the the real hardcore, to use that, Bernie supporters going to do in the wake of Hillary?
I taught a course at
That
Harvard.
is the question
No.
everybody
I
wants
taught
to
a course
ask.
at Harvard, and it was based. The title of the course was based on a quote by Bella Abzug, and the quote by Bella Abzug was, "You have to lose, lose, lose to win." And what Bernie has done is, remember we talked about you'd rather lose with dignity and by putting out the fire. Bernie has showed the beginning of what this revolution is. The revolution doesn't win the first time. It doesn't win the first battle. What he has shown, however, is that look what we have done. Don't you dare walk away. Don't you dare not stay engaged. Don't you dare not hold their feet to the fire. Your job now is to keep pushing, because what you see with Bernie is actually Occupy Wall Street started the conversation. The 99-1. Everyone said Occupy Wall Street didn't do a thing. Bull. It did. It changed the conversation in America. It focused people in a way on what was going on with the corruption in Wall Street. And then Bernie, with that sort of loosened ground, was able to build on that. Right. And so each time you do that, you don't run away. You keep fighting. And Bernie has showed you that it's worth it. It's worth it. And guess what? Hillary kind of knows it too. Yep. She's going to have a check on her that Bill never had, that frankly Obama never had.
True.
And that is going to be such a powerful thing. We now know more about the 2008 economic meltdown and who caused it than anyone could possibly imagine. That wasn't true when Barack won in 2008, which explains Larry Summers. You know what? There is no way in hell she brings in a Larry Summers, because people will go berserk.
Summers and Geithner.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'll take the fifth.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Well,
so I just think it's going to be different.
Excuse me.
It's gonna be different.
And no one can ever say again that you can't do it without taking the big money and
Oh, yeah,
run a credible
exactly.
campaign. No one can say that
So
ever again. Because
do you
of that.
think Bernie will be to the Democratic Party what Barry Goldwater was to the Republican in that, like, 3 or 4 election cycles, you could have what we would think of as a real Democrat, somebody that wants to be dedicated to unions, to all the things that when I was young,
It's hard to say. Ask me in a year.
that a Democrat was.
Well, I think what Bernie has done is
An
that
economy based on fostering a middle class and people rather than big international corporations
let me
to
tell you what
compete.
Hillary's going to allow to happen. She's going to allow experiments to happen around the country. She's going to allow Minnesota to do their single payer that they're talking about doing.
This is President Clinton.
This is President
The
Clinton.
second
Right,
president.
exactly. And what I think is going to happen is that what Bernie has done is allowed this sort of experimentation that really will begin to say, hey, you can't say it doesn't work. Look. And that is the way that we begin to sort of move forward. And of course, the other problem is that we're living in such a fragile world that is the part that so scares me, is that what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on with the refugee crisis, what's going on with the environment. I mean, we know. I want the U.S. military to finally stand up and say out loud that the biggest threat to our security and stability is climate change. Because if you look at the Syrian refugee crisis, it was caused by climate change. When you go back and look at so much of that has happened, and they know it, but because the muscular foreign policy and all the
insurance industry knows it because they have to hedge their bets.
Guess what? If anyone's going to bring us to change, it will not be the government.
What's
It'll be the
Bernie's
insurance
role?
industry.
What's Bernie's role? We only got like a minute or two after the convention and after the election.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
What is Bernie's
how
role?
much influence he
as
has.
you see it?
I think it really depends on what happens in November. You know, if I don't think that Donald Trump has a realistic claim to beat Clinton. The question is whether it's going to be a victory by 3 or 4%, or if it's going to be some blowout. If it's a blowout, it's going to show that Bernie's people showed up to vote. And that, in my opinion, is going to give a lot more credibility to the progressive movement to show that, you know, we are willing to work within the system. And I'll hold myself up as an example of that. You know, I marched with Occupy a couple of times, and here I am on the state committee for the party. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to be some weird outsider freak with the tie-dye, you know, hairdo. I'm trying to
Progressives
get
changed this country
Right.
back in the turn of the 19th to the 20th century.
And they didn't do it by, you know,
It was
freaking out on
mainstream,
the
right.
outside skirts of the
So
farm.
I
They
wanna
did
make
it by
I wanna-
getting into the barn.
I want to make a
Let's
pitch.
give
No, I wanna make a
Arnie
pitch.
the last word.
I do a radio show every day on
Yes, you do.
WNHNFM.org. We stream live. You can hear it anywhere you are.
attitude.
And what we did was we sold bumper stickers. You know what our bumper stickers were said? I'd rather be occupying Wall Street. That was our bumper sticker that we sold because we knew we couldn't be there. But guess what? Our heads and our hearts were there. And what I think has been so exciting about Bernie is that he's taken that message and he's given it content and he's given it facts and he's given it depth and he's given a lot of people are on that same page. And I think that's what's important. He is the best thing that ever happened to the Democratic Party.
Well, since
He
Franklin
is the
Roosevelt.
best thing that ever happened. Well, and I maybe even in some ways better because they needed his medicine.
I have
They need
FDR's
it.
picture on the wall of my bedroom.
Yeah.
Because I have the house back where I lived as a kid. He's still there.
I got a Chagall. No. I like things that are sort of distorted. Oh, it's going to be very interesting to watch what happens at this election. And the Republican Party has a real come to Jesus moment. They need to step back and say, what the hell have we become?
I think they're through.
Well, Gary Johnson's going to siphon off a lot of
Nationally.
votes, by the way, from the Republican side.
Oh, my God.
As a parting word
Yeah.
to the Republicans, I'll just say, have fun.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, no. I think, and the Weld Johnson thing. I mean, if it had been another time, you would have sworn that was the Republican ticket. Think
True.
about that. That
Yeah,
is
they're
the
former
Republican
Republicans,
ticket.
yeah.
These are two Republican governors who won in fairly liberal Democratic states. Who did very well and were actually very liked while they were there.
Yeah.
And they're running as libertarians. What does that say about the Republican Party?
Well, thank you very much, Arnie. You're always welcome back. And Tim, of course, you're always welcome. And thank you, Ward 13. We'll see you next week at the same time.
Report it feels good. This is internal.
I mean, we ran out of time, so.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.